Let's take a look at inserting movies into our Viewlet Builder 7 project. To do this, select the slide where you want to insert the movie. Then, select Insert Movie. This will load an Insert Movie dialog window. Now, you have two choices. You can embed a movie file directly onto a slide, or you can load it from a URL. If you do decide to load your movie file from a URL, select that option, then click the button, and in the URL window, type in or copy and then paste the URL into this field and click OK. For this example, we'll be embedding movie files directly onto slides. Now, did you know that Viewlet Builder does come pre-installed with some stock movies for you to use throughout your project? To take a look at them, select Embed Movie File, then Browse. In the Viewlet Builder 7 folder, look for two folders, one called Library and one called Projects. Open up the Library folder, and then in there, look for a folder that's called Movies and open up the Movies folder. And then in that folder, you'll see a folder called Stock Movies and open that one. In here we have various pre-installed stock movies that you can use, for example, for responses, such as when the viewer gets a quiz question correct, you can add a little movie animation for like the bounce correct answer file and so on down the list. Now for this particular demo we won't be adding any of these, but I just wanted to point out that there are stock movies available for you to add to your project. So let's go ahead and cancel out of this. For our particular example, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to show you how easy it is to embed a movie file directly on a slide. Now, you may do this for purposes of embedding other Viewlet files that you've already compiled and you want to put them into an existing Viewlet project. Whatever you want to do, it's very simple. So to embed a movie file directly on a slide, go ahead and browse to locate your movie file. And in this example, we're going to go to our desktop, and we have a movies folder we've created here. And in here, you notice we have two different types of movie files. Now, Viewlet Builder 7 does support the SWF file format as well as the FLV file format. So on this first one, let's go ahead and embed the SWF file and look at some of our options. So we'll select it and we'll click Open. And it loads the file name in the field here, and then we just click OK. Now you notice that it does add the name of the file here, and it does tell you that to preview this movie you must publish to SWF. So basically we cannot preview the results of this embedded movie file until we publish our Viewlet file to our Flash format. So that's something you can do when you embed your movies to preview the results. I want to go ahead and show you some more properties of this movie file when you're embedding movie files onto slides. So right now you see, let's go ahead and look along the timeline here. You notice that we do have a layer added for the embedded movie file, but let's go ahead and collapse the timeline here. And you notice that it fills up the slide. Now it will attempt to put the movie file in its original size on the slide. Now if the dimensions of your movie file are smaller, it will fill up as much as up to the size of the movie file. However, you can go ahead and resize it as needed by grabbing a grab handle and just resizing it, and you can move it around the slide as well. Now if your embedded movie file is larger in height and width than the slide you're adding it to, it will fill up the entire slide. It will scale it to fill that particular slide. Now, once you embed your movie file, you want to go ahead and look at some of the properties. You can do this easily by double-clicking it or by selecting it and then selecting the Properties button. So then in the Movies Properties window, there's some things we need to look at here. In the General tab, you'll notice it does have the file name here. This is the current location and size. If you want to be specific about this, you can do your settings here. It also gives you some frame rate and duration information here. In the Source tab, You notice that it shows us that this is an embedded movie file and the name. At any point we can go ahead and if we've updated this movie we can go ahead and then grab it again and re-embed it so that we have the most current version, or we can change it out with a different movie file, and we do that in this tab here. In our options tab we can opt to have a preloader display so that when it plays back, depending upon the bandwidth, we can display a waiting animation while the movie's being loaded on playback. Now this particular movie is a SWF file, so we can't add a control bar to it automatically. That's only supported for SWF files with embedded FLV movies in them. This one doesn't have that. And then in the timing tab, this is important to read through this information and check out your options. But for the most part, the recommendation that's automatically generated should work fine for you. However, from the drop down, you can set a manual timing here. You can have a fixed duration. You can have it play until the end of the slide. You can have it pause the Viewlet while playing, or pause the Viewlet while playing and then resume the Viewlet again when this particular embedded movie is completed. So again, go ahead and choose the option that's recommended, and you can delay the start time for when it will start playing back, and normally you might want to set this to maybe a half a second. Once you have these options set, you can go ahead and click OK, and then don't forget to save your file. And again, don't forget, we talked about you also have the ability to embed or load from a URL FLV files too. So let's go ahead and open up our thumbnails and go to the other slide. And to do this, you can easily just go ahead and select the Insert Movie button here and go ahead and browse to locate your FLV file. Again, that is a supported movie format. Click Open and it will embed it. Let's go ahead and collapse the Project tab here. Now you notice again it did put it in the middle of the slide. This particular FLV, the dimensions of it are smaller than our slide, so it placed it in the middle, but you have the same options if you want. You can resize it if you want to. You can place it in a different position by grabbing it and dragging it along your slide as well. And we can double click it to look at its properties. Again, in the General tab, we have the name of the file and its location and size, which if we want to be very specific about its location on the slide, we can go ahead and set the options here. Again, you can do the same thing with the source. We can, if we've updated the FLV, we can reload it, or we can load a different one from the URL, as well as swap it out if we want to change this to a different file format, such as the SWF. And then in our options, we have the preloader already selected, and we do have the option to have a control bar added for the movie if we want to. And then again, in timing, we do have it have a recommended fixed duration to be used, but again, you can choose from other options as needed. And again, you can set the delay for the start time of when it will play back. Once you've made your selections here, you just go ahead and click OK. And then don't forget to save your file. Now keep in mind again, you have to publish out your Viewlet in order to preview the results of any embedded movie file, whether it's FLV or it's a Flash SWF file. So that's basically all there is to it. If you have any questions on this particular topic or any others while working with Qarbon products, please visit us online at qarbon.com. That's qarbon.com. Happy Viewleting!